What's up everyone, it's Duncan from Overland Journals, and today's video is a video I've been meaning to do for quite a while and many subscribers have asked for, but haven't got around doing it. So today, let's talk about my rig. Welcome back everyone. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscription button and the notification bell, because my channel is all about sharing my experiences in overlanding with the rest of the community, and I bring out a video every single week. So today's video is something that I've been meaning to do for a while, and also a lot of my subscribers have been asking for, and I never really got around to it. Well, today's the chance. Let's talk about Dicerus. Now you might wonder, why do I call my 80 series Dicerus? Well, what's in a name? I'll mention that towards the end of the video, so keep watching. Now, before I go through the mods that I put into the 80 series, let me talk about the mindset behind it. So those of you who've been following my channel for a while will know that I am relatively new to Australia. But one thing I wanted to do as soon as I got here, myself and Johnny, what we wanted to do was go out and discover this country. Because big cities, you've seen once, seen them all sort of thing. But to see a country in its truest sense, I believe you got to get out there and go to the regional areas, go remote. And that's what we wanted to do. But being relatively new and starting a business in a brand new market, I was working on a budget. So that was the first criteria. Secondly, my knowledge when it comes to mechanics or electrics or anything relating to motor vehicles in terms of getting repairs done is very limited by any stretch of imagination. So I needed something old school, where if I had to fix something out in the middle of nowhere, then at least I could do something. And modern vehicles, as good as they are and tremendously improved, my knowledge when it comes to electronics does not even exist. So old school was the way to go. So being on a budget, what I did was I started researching for 80 series. Now, why 80 series? Well, I've always been a Toyota fan. Now, because of being on a budget, I wanted to get the maximum value I possibly could. So I started researching, and I've discovered that there was a huge price difference between a petrol 80 series and a diesel 80 series. Obviously, diesel being a lot more popular. Now, you might think going petrol, you have to be crazy. Well, here's what my thinking was. The price difference between a petrol and a diesel 80 was almost 50%. And my 80 was going to stay parked at home, and it was purely only for trips. And for that reason, I could live with the fuel consumption and the cost of running a petrol. But if you factored in the saving in the terms of purchase, then that saving made a lot of sense to me, because that meant I could buy that much more petrol to go on my trips before I caught up to what I would have had paid for a diesel, if that made sense to you. Okay, so with that mindset, then I started looking for an 80. Now, I still wanted to stretch my budget and get that value. So what I then started doing was started looking for the 80 series, which was obviously in good condition, but it also had as much of the mods already in it. Because when you buy used or pre-owned, the thing is, no matter how much mods it's got, price doesn't necessarily shoot up. So I started looking for an 80 which had as much mods in it as possible. So as I go through, do the walk around, I will tell you what came with the vehicle when I purchased it, and then what else I added to it. Also in this video, what I'm also going to talk about is there are certain mods that or accessories I've attached to the 80 which are not really useful. Through experience I've learned, and I'll share that with you so that by any means it'll be helpful to you. Okay, so let's start with the front. Bull bar came with the vehicle, and I didn't really bother to change it. I quite like it. It serves the purpose. There are fancier ones in the market, but then again, that defeats the whole purpose, because my idea was to get an 80 with as much mods on it already. So spending more money was not going to serve the purpose. So yes, the bull bar came with it, does the purpose, solid, strong. I don't think it's any of the well-known brands. I think it must have been a custom job the previous owner got done. I'm happy with it. These two antennas here, this antenna is for my UHF, and this antenna is for my cell phone signal booster. Now, one thing I'll share with you is this has been useful to me, but I wouldn't advise it. You know, it boosts the signal, in my experience, up to about 10 kilometers from the point you would generally lose signal if you didn't have a booster. But that's again when it's flat open spaces. If there is any mountain ranges or any obstacles in the way, then that really gets reduced down to almost nothing. So I have got it, but I wouldn't really recommend it. Then in terms of lighting, I particularly don't like driving at night, and as a policy, what I always do, and that's something Johnny and myself both believe, is we are on holiday and we want to enjoy ourselves. We want to see the countryside. So as a policy, what we do is 2 hours before sunset, we park off, set up camp, put our feet up, enjoy a beer or two, and enjoy ourselves. So we try to avoid driving at night as much as possible. So therefore, I haven't gone for a whole lot of lighting. So what I do have, this is a 32-inch LED light bar. I had some 2 spotties lying around at home. These are Hella spotties. What I did do was remove the bulb and replace them with LED bulbs, so I get a little bit more brightness. Then what I did was, the standard reflectors that came from the factory, they had aged over time. They usually do. The technology wasn't that great. This is a 1997 80 series. So what I did was I removed the standard original reflectors and I replaced them with some new ones from Nava. They're called freeforms, and they've made a huge impact on the brightness that I get out of them. Then what I did was I installed these lights on either side facing outwards from the front. That's mainly to see roos or emus or any other wildlife that may come out of the bushes if I was driving at night. So as far as lighting is concerned, that's pretty much it. Something I need to mention is my type of traveling is touring. So this vehicle is being built with that in mind. So I don't really go out looking for the rough stuff where I have to do serious rock crawling and that sort of thing. Now, staying with the front, I have got a 6-ton winch. Now these are something very, very essential. Never rely on the factory supplied tow points. When they supply tow points, it's mainly to tow, to get a tow done, but not to do so much of a recovery. So rated recovery points. And what I have down there is a return to center steering damper. Now a little bit of a tip for you is, over the years, whenever I travel, I put my shackles out and I have them in place just in case if I needed it. But then traveling over corrugations tends to loosen the shackle bolt and then it falls off. And I've had a few occasions where I eventually discovered, oh, I don't have my shackles anymore. So what I now do is I also put in a zip tie to secure the shackle bolt so it won't work itself loose. Now on to suspension and tires. Well, that is another thing. When I purchased the vehicle, it already had a Dobinson suspension, 2-inch lift with 33-inch tires. Now, I did replace the tires because the tires that were already in the vehicle was about 50% gone and I wanted full set of muddies. So I did replace them with Mickey Thompson Deegan 38s. I've always used Mickey Thompson. I've always been very happy with them. I've also installed locking hubs that came with the vehicle, so I didn't install it, to be honest. Now for my kind of traveling, again, I said touring, 2-inch lift is more than enough with 33-inch tires gives me a fair bit of ground clearance, and that's all I need. Now staying with tires and suspension, also to touch on is differentials. The 80 series came with a factory-fitted limited slip differential. I found that works well for me and for my kind of traveling, so I've kept it that way. Now, what have I done to the motor? Well, nothing really. I've kept it stock standard because I didn't want to lose reliability, and stock standard, it gives me the power that I need, again, for my purpose. So I haven't done much in terms of modifying it to get more power out. What I have done is done a little bit of improvements, and there was a video I did a few weeks ago. Go check that out. Link will be in the description below, where I had a decarbonizing done through the throttle body and the engine head. And that seems to have done a considerable amount of improvement. Apart from that, I've got a dual battery system, deep cycle battery here, cranking battery here. I put it through, I have the charging system going through a DC to DC charger. I've got an oil catch can installed, and that's about really. Coming to the top here, I've got diff breathers. So both diffs and my transmission, they have breathers coming up. The snorkel came with the vehicle, so another one of those value-adding features I looked for. Snorkel was already there in the vehicle. I did install this sun visor. It was a custom built job, and here in Australia, where our sun can be really harsh, this can be extremely useful. So I've got the sun visor. Now usually the sun visor comes in silver. I didn't particularly like the silver color, so I got them to paint it black for me before they did the installation, and that kind of fits in the with the vehicle and the sort of the color toning. I didn't want to be all mixed up in colors and that sort of thing. And then clear view towing mirrors. Now these mirrors are amazing. I don't do a whole lot of towing, but if I wanted to tow, I can extend it. And what I really valued about this was the size, and it gives me a good view. And while we're at it, I wanted to show you something else. Every place I travel to, once I return from there, I put all my places of travel as little memoirs on the hood. And that's Dicerus. I will get to the meaning of Dicerus and why I came up with that name towards the end of the video, so keep watching. Roof rack came with the vehicle. And on top of the roof rack, I've got my sand tracks. Over here, I've got my bracket for installing my sand flags. Came with the awning, so that awning came with the vehicle. My storage boxes, I've got 2 storage boxes. I did a video about these boxes, link in the description below if you want to go and check that out. This box here has all my recovery gear, and the second box is actually empty in case I want to chuck something in there which I don't necessarily want going into the vehicle. Also, while we are up here, I have 2 gas bottles with these front runner gas bottle holders. They are rock solid. I've been using them for many years now. I've got installed LED floodlights if I'm at a camp spot and I want to get some lighting. I've got these spots here, one on each side, one over here, and then one on this side as well. Also, that came with the vehicle was the second awning, this one here. So I actually received 2 awnings when I purchased the vehicle, so that was super cool. Staying on the outside, at the back, I've got a single wheel carrier. I did not go for one of those twin wheel carriers because to me that was dead weight. I want to always be conscious of my weight, so single wheel carrier. I used to carry 2 spare wheels, one underneath where the factory spare wheel set, and this one here, but then I've changed that a little bit, that configuration. I'm going with 1 spare wheel now, and that's because I installed a long range tank. Now I'll get to that in a minute. I did do a video when I was trying to make my mind up whether it was a good idea to go single spare wheel or not. Again, link in the description below, go check it out if you want to. But I have finally decided 1 spare wheel will do, and I kind of manage it. And also staying with the wheel carrier, at the back here, I've got my reversing camera lens, my garbage bag, and my high lift jack. So with the installation of the long range fuel tank, I now carry a total, that's main tank plus the auxiliary tank, I carry a total of 320 liters of petrol. Now, you might think, oh, it's crazy, that's way too much. Well, first of all, it's an 80 series, it's a petrol 80 series, not known for their economy. I don't think Toyota even had that in their mind when they designed this. So yeah, it's not the economical of vehicles, but that 320 liters will give me on blacktop travel, will give me about 1,500 kilometers of range. And if I was on high range, off-roading 4-wheel drive with a bit of stress on the motor and the transmission, I will still get about 900 kilometers. Now onto the back, and I have done a few videos in the past where I talk about the individual bits and pieces in here. You might have seen those. Well, let's see them again. So at the back, I've got this flip-out table which I created myself. I had some marine ply timbers sitting around at home, cut them into 2 pieces, put a hinge across, put some marine carpet on it, and I've got a flip out table. Super handy. The drawer system came with the vehicle. Again, another one of those value adding things. So the drawers came with the vehicle. In this drawer, I carry all food stuff, cooking utensils. In here, the second drawer, I have my gas shower system. Again, another video done, link in the description below. Carry a little bit of space tools, and few other bits and pieces which I would need to grab in a rush. And then over here I've got my slide out fridge. That's a 60-litre fridge I've got. One of the problems I do have is that it's not one of those drop-down fridge slides. I did look at the idea of installing a drop-down, and it comes to about $800-900. And I thought, well, do I really need to spend that kind of money? So what I did was I went down to the local hardware store and bought myself one of these fold-out stools for $10. Then what I did was I had this side panel fabricated for me, and I installed it myself, and I put on all these storage bags where I can put stuff. For me, storage is the most important thing, and even more important is ease of access. So I've got all these storage bags which I've got strapped onto the side of this fabricated panel. Back here I've got another slide out which I had fabricated, and in here I've strapped down 4 of these lightweight boxes. Again, I did a video on these lightweight boxes, link in the description below. And these are super useful to me because they're modular, and 3 of them will carry foodstuffs and anything else required for our travels or camping. And the 4th box will have my fluids, spare parts and so on that I carry for the 80. So these are easy because when I get to a campsite, all I have to do is take the appropriate box out and take it into my campsite, easy as. And the slide out has made it super convenient for me because I don't need to dive into the back of the wagon to get stuff out. Table gets strapped to the top and the stove gets strapped to the back, all in one place. Then onto the side, I've got another divider installed, and here I just basically use it for chucking stuff in. I chuck in my camping chairs, bottles of water, and anything else that I may want to chuck in there. So let's get to the interior now. So in no particular order, I've got a cargo barrier at the back here, and strapped onto the cargo barrier is my 600-watt inverter. I didn't need something that was really super powerful because my inverter is mainly for charging up camera batteries and so on. So inverter at the back. I've got a storage organizer here where I keep my 2-way radio, or UHF handheld radio that is. I keep lanterns, LED lanterns strapped to the back because when I get to a campsite and if it's a bit dark and I want light, it's there for me to grab. It's all about convenience as far as I'm concerned. I've also got attached to the cargo barrier a water bladder, and this can carry up to 85 liters of water, and all the plumbing is on the side here. Remove the rear seat, and in place of the rear seat we keep all our clothing. Swag sits here. This is our swag. I didn't want to put it up on the roof. I'm too freaking lazy to go up and bring it down, so swag sits here. And that was quite an interesting exercise on its own, because when I went looking for a swag, I had to find a swag that fitted in perfectly between the 2 ends of the vehicle. So that was a bit of a mission because not many of them did, and eventually found one which works. So that sits in here, our clothing sits in here, and I've got a few more storage boxes. Also up here, did a video, go check it out. This is so bloody useful. And this is my cargo net, which I installed onto the ceiling because this is all unutilized space. And this here now, we are on this trip into the Flinders right now as I'm doing this video. And in here we've chucked in all our sleeping bags, jackets, and anything else that's lightweight in here. Super useful. Strapped onto the headrest is a his and hers headlights. Again, it's in the name of convenience. And then the front section of the cab. Got a 16-liter center console fridge, also came with the vehicle. I've got my UHF radio. Over here is the tire pressure monitor, tire pressure monitor, the tablet GPS, my rear view camera. This cradle here is for the cell phone signal booster. Pretty much that's it. I've kept it pretty simple. I didn't want too many stuff in the front. Yeah, so there is pretty much Dicerus and how I've kitted it around our requirements, and also the thought process that went into getting Dicerus put together the way it is. Now, to answer your question, why do you call it Dicerus? Well, Dicerus is the scientific name for a rhino. And Johnny and I have always been massive animal conservationists. From back in the time of Africa, we've always done whatever we could to help conserve wildlife. And particularly rhinos, they are in a very vulnerable situation right now because of poaching back in Africa. Unfortunately, the kill rate has now far exceeded the birth rate, and they predict that if this trend continues, by the year 2030, we will not have rhinos anymore in this world, and that'll be a crying shame. So we do whatever we can to try and help the rhino conservation. There is a project going on in Australia right now. They're going to bring in an insurance population of rhinos over from Africa into Australia and New Zealand. That's a super exciting project that we support, and therefore, so our dedication to this noble cause is why we call our 80 series Dicers. And also, in my opinion, you may argue that the 80s are built like a rhino. So I hope you found that video useful, and if you've got any questions or comments, please leave them in the link below. And if you want me to deal more specifically into certain parts of the build of the 80 series, please do tell, and I'll do another video another time. If you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscription button and the notification bell. My channel is all about sharing my experiences in overlanding with the rest of the community, and I bring out a video every single week. Thanks for watching, everyone.